Hello everyone, my name is Braden, this is Airless Quill 9, and in today's video we are going to discuss Bullywugs. These are Amphibious Appreciators of Marsh and Muck. They are fey embodiments of swamplands. They're typically found in those regions. They like implements and individual treasures, which are tables that can be rolled on in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. They often protect the murky wilds and consider themselves cosmically favored for that role. They are humanoid or human-sized toad or frog-like creatures that have close relationships with creatures of the swamp. And as such, they have these frog and toad-like appearances that are, pretty interesting here. You can see that they have a lot of insect gear on their personages. This is somewhat reflected in the actual stat blocks that we have for them. There are 2 Bullywug stat blocks that are present here in the 2024 Monster Manual, which is 1 more than was present in the 2014 version. So we're going to take a look at both of these stat blocks, starting with the Bullywug Warrior, and give you our thoughts. So the Bullywug Warrior is a medium fey of neutral alignment. They have an armor class of 15, an initiative of +2, 11 hit points, a speed of 30 feet, and a swim speed of 30 feet. For their ability scores, they have a strength of 12, a dexterity of 14, a constitution of 13, an intelligence of 7, a wisdom of 10, and a charisma of 7. They have a +4 to stealth. They have a passive perception of 10. They speak Bullywug and Common, and they are a challenge rating 1/4 creature, which means they have 50 experience points and a proficiency bonus of +2. For their traits, they have the Amphibious trait, which allows them to breathe both air and water. They also have Speak with Frogs and Toads, which allows them to communicate simple concepts to frogs and toads when they speak in Bullywug, which is quite interesting. For their actions, they have an Insectile Rapier. This is a melee attack roll with a +4 to hit and a reach of 5 feet. And on a hit, this attack deals 1d8 +2 piercing damage, plus 1d4 poison damage. Finally, as a bonus action, the Bullywug Warrior can use Leap, which allows it to jump up to 30 feet by spending 10 feet of movement. I really like this bonus action. This is cool that we've seen this multiple times so far. So, with the Bullywug Warrior stat block, let's go ahead and take a look at what has changed here. First off, the name has changed. This used to just be called the Bullywug in 2014. So since there are now multiple types, they are now called the Bullywug Warrior. Also of note, their creature type has changed. Bullywugs used to be humanoids. They're now fey, which is quite interesting. Also, their speed used to be only 20 feet. They have now an increased movement speed of 30 feet, so that is quite nice to see. Additionally, the Bullywug used to have a 12 dexterity that has been increased to 14, which has now changed its bonuses to both its modifier and saving throws, as well as that stealth skill that has increased to +4. They have also added in the ability for the Bullywug Warrior to know Common as a language, so that's nice to see. They have lost some traits here. They lost Swamp Camouflage, which let them have advantage on stealth checks to hide in swampy terrain. They've just completely moved that out of the stat block. I guess that's technically already covered by the stealth skill anyways. So yeah, they really just took it out to condense the stat block a little bit. They also had an ability called Standing Leap, which let them have their long jump was up to 20 feet, and then their high jump was up to 10 feet with or without a running start. That has been completely taken out, and we now have that bonus action leap ability to replace that, which is nice. Finally, their actions have changed considerably. They used to have a multi-attack, which allowed them to make 2 melee attacks, one with their bite and one with a spear that they had. The bite was 1d4 plus 1 bludgeoning damage, and the spear was 1d6 plus 1 or 1d8 plus 1, depending on how many hands they were using to wield it. And it did give them a ranged option. So, yeah, their actions have completely changed. However, their damage potential hasn't. It is pretty much the exact same, because their average damage was 8, roughly, if they were two-handing that spear, which why wouldn't they? And the damage average here is still 8, so no change there. They've just reduced the number of attacks that the Bullywug Warrior makes, which is alright because they are a lower challenge rating creature, and it was relatively rare for a challenge rating of 1/4 to have a multi-attack option anyway, so yeah, it makes sense that they changed this. Overall, though, I'm not worried that they removed a ranged option for them by taking that spear away. With the additional movement speed that the Bullywug Warrior has, as well as that ability to leap 30 feet, they have a lot of movement potential here, so very likely they're going to be able to get within range of a creature to make that insectile rapier attack. So yeah, not worried at all that they no longer have a ranged functionality. It's pretty easy for them to get within melee range of a target, so I think that's not going to be a issue whatsoever. So yeah, that's the Bullywug Warrior and the changes that have been made to it. So let's go ahead and talk about the new stat block that they've added in here, the Bullywug Bog Sage. This is a spell casting Bullywug, which is quite nice to have. The Bullywug Bog Sage is a medium fae of neutral alignment. They have an armor class of 16, plus 3 initiative, 52 hit points, a speed of 30 feet, and a swim speed of 30 feet. For their ability scores, they have a strength of 8, a dexterity of 16, a constitution of 14, an intelligence of 10, a wisdom of 16, and a charisma of 12. They are proficient in constitution and wisdom saving throws, which is quite nice. They have a +4 to nature skills and +5 to stealth skills. For their gear, they have a component, a pouch. This just helps them cast spells that they have in their spell casting action. So that's something that could be gathered from them were you to kill a Bullywug Bog Sage. That's what that gear section is for, so that's nice to see there. For senses, they have a passive perception of 13. For languages, they know Bullywug, Common, and Sylvan. This is a challenge rating 4 creature, which grants 1100 experience points, and they have a proficiency bonus of +2. For their traits, they have the Amphibious and Speak with Frogs and Toads traits, which we talked about in the last stat block. And finally, for their actions, they have a multi-attack that allows them to make 2 Bog Staff attacks. They can also replace any attack with a use of spell casting to cast Ray of Sickness. This means that potentially they could cast Ray of Sickness twice in a round, since they can make 2 Bog Staff attacks, and they can replace any of those attacks with Ray of Sickness. So you could replace both of them with Ray of Sickness, which gives them some nice ranged potential there. The Bog Staff is a melee attack roll, +5 to hit, reach of 5 feet. It deals 1d8 plus 3 bludgeoning damage, plus 3d6 poison damage. So that's some pretty nice damage there. That's 17 per attack for an average of 34 per round with that multi-attack. So that's quite nice. And then finally, for their spell casting, they can cast one of the following spells using Wisdom as a spell casting ability. Spell save DC at 13, +5 to hit with spell attacks. At will, they have Dancing Lights, Druidcraft, and Ray of Sickness. And then once per day each, they can cast Speak with Plants and Vitriolic Sphere. Vitriolic Sphere is a very nice option here. Deals some pretty impressive damage, and yeah, that's a good use of a action instead of using that multi-attack. So Yeah, nice spell to have there available to them. And then finally, like the previous Bullywug, the Bog Sage has the leap ability, allowing it to jump 30 feet by spending 10 feet of movement. So yeah, the Bog Sage, pretty nice stat block, some nice functionality, some good movement potential, very nice attacks. Looks like a pretty decent option for a Bullywug commander. So yeah, very nice to see here. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Next week, we are going to be moving on to the C's in the 2024 Monster Manual, so keep an eye out for those videos. And until then, I will catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.